welcome to day 5 of my Athens, Greece vlog series. Today we are starting off strong by catching a taxi to the Kolonaki area to catch the Lycabettus Hill funicular. Just so you know, I say Lycabettus incorrectly throughout this entire video and I am so sorry for that. The ride to the top takes less than 4 minutes, but I've sped it up so you only have to spend about 35 seconds watching it instead. Enjoy!
We are up on Lycabettus Hill. We got the funicular up here. It was €12 each for the and return trip. And yeah, this is the highest point in Athens. You can walk up here. You don't have to catch the funicular, but you know, again, rail. I like to catch trains. So yeah, caught the funicular. There's not much up here. There's a church, a bell tower, flag, but amazing views over Athens. You can see the Acropolis. With the Parthenon, and you can see the athletics track. You can see everything from up here. Honestly, like, it's amazing views. Like I said, it is the highest point in Athens. You wouldn't spend much time here because there's not a lot to do or see up here. There are a couple of restaurants and there's some souvenir stores, but that's it. And there's also a really cute cat somewhere. While up on the hill, we decided to stop and have a drink in one of the little cafes just to rehydrate. And then we went back to the funicular to go back down again, but it's a 25-minute wait. So we're walking down the hill. It's a lot easier than going up. So I don't know how long this is going to take. Hopefully not to the 25 minutes the funicular wait would have been. But anyway, look, it was fun to go up. It's not a very long ride. There's not a lot to do up here. But, you know, I mean, we've spent an hour and a half or so up here anyway, just sitting there drinking and, you know, looking around and waiting for the funicular. If you have some time, you do get a good view of the Parthenon. Obviously not as good as if you're standing on the Acropolis, but still not bad nonetheless. We are now walking to the Museum of Ancient Greek Technology. So, you know, I didn't think it was particularly far from Lycabettus Hill, so we decided to walk. And just so you know, like, it's all, I don't know if you can see those stairs, but it's all downhill, but very steep. So my advice is, if you are going to Lycabettus Hill, maybe don't walk there. We called a taxi because it was far enough away for us that it deemed it, you know, the best way to go, but you're going to be exhausted by the time you even get to the hill, let alone climb up the hill. So just a word of warning, but it is a beautiful area of Athens that you walk through in order to get there. So yeah, but anyway, on to the Museum of Ancient Greek Technology. So there are a whole bunch of like experiments and things like that you can do here, and there's this one particular one here is about automation of Philon and the rotating chirping bird of heron. And it says if you follow the instructions, it says a brilliant chirping sound is created. Brilliant chirping sound. Remember that, because I'm about to do the experiment. I don't know if I should classify that as a brilliant chirping sound. It was ear-piercing. Absolutely. So the museum here is pretty interesting. There's a lot of things you can do and you can touch and you can, experiment. So it's great. This is also like the war gallery where it has all the armory or armor from over the centuries. Now the only thing that I'm probably disappointed with is that it is called a museum, but it has no original artifacts. Everything is just recreated. So still great, still really interesting to read. I just assumed that there would be artifacts, or original artifacts. But it's still great, still good. Especially kids would probably love it because they can do a few things that are hands-on. We've got one more bit to look at and then we're finished here. So we're now in the musical instruments section of the museum. There's 3 different levels here, and depending on what level you want to see, depends on what ticket you buy. So we bought the ticket for all 3 levels. So that's just the normal level that we're on before, the musical instruments, and then the war level. Information on some musical instruments, some games and stuff up here. There's like a massive big tangram that we've been playing with, and we haven't been able to get it out. I have to keep trying, I think. It's a neat little museum. We have just arrived at the Benaki Museum and we're about to go in. Now we just walked here, it was just 5 minutes from the other museum. We're at the technology one, and the reason why we're here is because our guide the other day did say that there was an interesting artifact here for us to see. Now, I don't know if it's here, I'm hoping it is, and when I find it, I will let you know what it is. just finished in the Benaki Museum, and I have to admit I actually quite like this museum more than the National Archaeological Museum yesterday. The one yesterday had more of the same thing, where this one seemed to have lots of different, like smaller amounts of lots of different things, if that makes sense. So instead of having 20 of one thing, they might have had 2 or 3, and so I think a lot of this was private collections that have been donated and or loaned over the years. Now the thing that I did want to see is not here, because it turns out that the Benaki museums have multiple across the city, and the one that I probably wanted to go and see was the Benaki Toy Museum. And the reason for this is when we did a tour the other day, the Women in Ancient Greece tour, our guide was telling us about when the children, became of age. Not really became of age. They when the female children hit puberty and they started menstruating. Sorry to all the men out there. It was time for them to get married, and so that was an end of their childhood. And so what they would do is kind of ritualistically, they would take their toys and they would bury them in the slopes of the Acropolis. And they have been found and they are on display, but I think they're on display in the Toy Museum, not this Benaki Museum here in Athens, in the centre of Athens. That's a shame. We may or may not get there, but it's, it would have been interesting to see what some of those toys would have looked like, especially because they were ancient Greek toys. Apparently they had movable arms. They were like the dolls had movable arms. They were just like any other doll that you'd probably buy today, except they were wooden, a lot of wooden toys. Museum is really good. It was €12 for an adult and free for concession, so student or child or whatever. So really good. I'd actually really recommend it. I was a bit on the fence about it before I came here, but really, really enjoyed it. So I'd recommend it. I'd actually probably recommend it over the National Archaeological Museum. But look, they're all good. If you've got plenty of time here, see them all, see them both, see whatever. So, but if you're shorter on time, I'd probably come to this one instead. From Benaki Museum, we have walked to the archaeological site of the Lyceum of Aristotle. So this was this was the first, I think, gymnasium that was built like a school. Now, this is all ruins. There's no actual buildings, it's just a lot of foundations. But from what I read online, there are pretty good information boards here, which is why I thought we'd come and we'd have a look. It's a nice little oasis in the heart of the city. In the 4th century BC, I just read on one of the information boards, the first manual of botany was actually created at this institution here. It was a student of Aristotle. His works belong in the Aristotelian logic of systematic classification of the natural world, because we're probably still using a similar classification today, if not the same one. So I'd have to look that up. Look, I'm just talking out of my butt. This information board is saying that there was a palaestra, which is a training area. So it's like an ancient gymnasium, a training area for the athletes, exercising, wrestling, boxing, and pankration. I don't actually know what pankration is. But anyway, one of the things that a guide the other day did tell us about why the athletes were that. Why did athletics begin here in Greece? And that is because Greece is one of the most invaded countries, and Athens is one of the most invaded cities in the world. So, because it was right at the crossroads of so many cultures. And so the kids had to be tough, they had to be strong, they had to be athletic. And so that's why the whole athletics thing started here. So they could battle, so they could fight. So, which I found really interesting, because I never kind of connected those dots as to why you would need strong men and yeah, to fight, which is a bit sad. Yeah, a little bit sad. You really don't need much time here, maybe 15 minutes at the most. I think it's only €4 to get in for an adult, so it's not much at all. If you've got spare time and you're walking past, come and see it. Otherwise, would I make a detour? Probably not. Sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's important, super important to, so much of what we do today. But you could probably read this out of a book if you're really that interested, because there's not much to see. This is the Holy Church of Hagia Dynamis, for sacred power. And this little church refused to give in when they wanted to build this new hotel. So it's here. They built around it. They still wanted to build the hotel. Church didn't want to move. So I guess it's kind of the best of both worlds. You've got the church still there and the new hotel. So I guess, that it's worked in this case. Anyway, we were just walking past, going back to our accommodation now to have a rest. I've done a bit of walking this morning, just had some lunch. It was amazing. And thought we'd stop by and have a look. And it really is as cute as you think it would look.
And that's a wrap for day 5. Be sure to check back soon for our final day in Athens, Greece with day 6.